Hello everyone, good to see you again. This is my office time with me, and today I'm going to be talking about the difference between profits and cash flow. By the way, I'm setting up a new office, so it may look different to you. I'm still kind of moving in and most importantly organizing. So I think this is a really important topic right now, especially because if you are like me in terms of having businesses that sell to other businesses B2B. This is especially important, but it is important for all types of businesses, and that is this concept of profits versus cash flow. So I'm a serial entrepreneur. I now have my third company, and one of the things that I learned early on is the difference between those two things, and I'll tell you why. The first thing is it's important to understand that profits are basically what you net, and we're really talking about net profits, not gross profits. So net profits are basically what you're left with after you have paid all of your expenses, right? So not only your operating costs, but your taxes, any kind of fees, those kinds of things, costs of goods sold, all those kinds of things become really important. Versus now cash flow. Cash flow is your ability, your liquidity, your ability to pay your ongoing expenses, such as payroll, paying your vendors, paying your insurance costs, and all those different kinds of things to keep your business going. So one of the things that I learned early on, especially with my first business, is how important it is to understand the difference and how to maximize both. So it is possible to have a business that's profitable and yet not have a lot of cash at the end of the year, or net profit. And that's a situation in which perhaps you might want to look at your profitability, your profit margins. How much are you charging for your services versus your costs? And then there is the situation of cash flow, and what becomes really important here is that your cash flow is indicative of keeping your business going. It's your short-term ability to keep your business growing, scaling, and those kinds of things. And it was a lesson I had to learn critically and very importantly, especially with my first business, not having had any business experience. So, and I bring this up now because when we're in the middle of a pandemic and therefore there are economic impacts, there are drivers that are affecting your business. So for example, if in my case, we have my company sell to large companies, federal government, agencies, etc. So it is not uncommon for our clients to want to extend when they pay. So they want to extend their payment terms to, let's say, net 45 is good in this business environment. If you can get earlier, that's fantastic. But let's say net 60, net 90, those kinds of things, because they're holding on to cash because of cash flow, right? And there's some economic uncertainty in a lot of instances. Well, that affects you. So what's really important is that you are focused on collecting cash quickly. In other words, collecting your receivables quickly. And I can't tell you how many times I hear business owners say, especially if they're smaller businesses that are thinking about scaling and growing, I just haven't had a chance yet to get my invoicing done, or they delay, they don't prioritize getting their invoices out. So you need to set up a system and the right people to make sure that your invoices are going out on time. The other thing is, if there are terms in contracts that require approval of an invoice before payment is issued, which obviously they always are, but sometimes the net payment terms are affected by when the approval of the invoice occurs. So you always want to be asking the questions, or at least setting up the parameters so that invoices are approved on a timely basis. I have seen in a few situations and have heard a lot where sometimes companies and organizations will drag out the approval of an invoice, and then the net payment terms don't kick in, meaning the clock doesn't start until that invoice is paid. So what could be potentially a net 45 situation in a contract could end up actually being a net 60, net 70, and on. that can be a business killer. So you want to focus on collecting your receivables quickly. You want to make sure your systems are in place to do that, and to be tracking, by the way, when things aren't received on time. The other thing you want to make sure of is, when we talk about profitability, is to do what a lot of large companies do, which is to try and buy low, sell high, right? So that's your profit margin. And you want to look at when you are buying low, for example, are you buying in volume, and are you selling in volume? So let me give you an example. Walmart. Walmart is known, obviously, for being a very cost-efficient retail store, right? So you know you're going to get the best deal. Well, they're obviously trying to buy as low as they can, and while their profit margins may not be as high as others, but they sell on volume. So they know they're going to generate a tremendous amount of profit simply based on volume, but they're willing to accept lower profit margins. Whereas, let's say, a company such as Apple, right? So they have intellectual property. They can have higher profit margins and be profitable in that regard. And obviously volume is a big thing too, because they are a leader in this space, but there are different levers that can affect their profitability and their business strategy. So these are all things that you want to think of. So why do I share this with you? I share this with you because I'm sharing with you some of the lessons I learned early on in terms of becoming an entrepreneur. Remember, I was a journalist before becoming an entrepreneur. With my first company, I had no business experience. So I had to learn a lot of these things. And I get asked often, to mentor business owners, especially business owners that are trying to scale their businesses. So I've come up with my program, Possibility Architect. I'm thinking about profits. Possibility Architect. And that's my way to provide not only coaching, but lessons that I've learned over the years. And now, of course, with my third company, a science-based technology company, I like to share a lot of what I've learned, and that's my way of being able to help other businesses, especially those owners, those entrepreneurs who are trying to scale their businesses over $1 million in annual revenue, because you'd be shocked at how many entrepreneurs, especially entrepreneurs who are minorities or women, have businesses that don't generate over $1 million in annual revenue. There's a lot of research to support that. We need to change that. In some instances, you have company owners that want to have what we call a lifestyle business. They want to have a business that supports their life, but they're not necessarily interested in scaling a big business. But most are very interested of scaling a company to achieve their overarching goals and objectives, and their family legacy goals and philanthropy goals and those kinds of things. So I hope you'll check out Possibility Architect. I have a masterclass there. And in my program, my mentoring program, I talk about these kinds of lessons and many others in terms of scaling your business. I hope I'll see you there in my platform called Possibility Architect.